Hey there folks, Jampesk here, bringing another audio commentary, and today we have a game from the Zotac Cup Finals between Hawk and the fan favorite Lucifer. Obviously, I'm sure most of you know Lucifer, but for those who don't, he was sort of a tremendously good, one of the best undeads in the world for a very long time, if not the best. And then he retired to go off to his mandatory military service, but has since come back and has been absolutely dominant in the scene. Really a very good player, and at the moment this is, as I say, the Zotac Cup Finals. 2-2 is the score, so whoever wins this takes the series, and very interesting series so far. I'd highly recommend watching those games. If you do want to watch them, obviously you can get the replays pretty much anywhere, but also Lucifer has started his own stream. I'll put a link in the description to this video, but it's a stream that's well worth watching. Really, you gain so much more watching a first-person video of a player rather than even watching a replay like this. And I don't mean to do myself a disservice, but just it's so impressive the number of small things you notice when you're watching the first person view of a player. And as I say, very interesting series so far. Lucifer, if you've been watching his stream at all, you'll know that he's had a bit of trouble recently versus the Mountain King. In fact, he did lose one game. Ooh, look at this, a Lich first here from Lucifer, so very interesting play here by him. And looks like in this case Hawk's going for the Archmage. Obviously the Archmage fantastic on this map, just because you can do some really stellar creeping here. You can creep out this camp so quickly, and that just gets you that quick level 2. In this case, actually, due to the spawn positions, that might not be the best option for Hawk. We'll have to see what he wants to go for here. He is pulling Militia though, so it looks like he will at least start there. And we'll have to see with this Lich first what actually can be done, because it's Lich and Ghouls, obviously. Lich and Fiends wouldn't make too much sense, just because you need to be able to heal up Fiends, whereas Ghouls you can just send home and bring out other ones, and let the hurt ones heal while on the Blight. And it looks like Hawk's going to creep this camp out pretty well. He did take a lot of damage and did lose one Militia, but otherwise he's doing this very well, taking all the damage on his Water Elementals. Picks up a Tome of Intelligence, pretty much the best tome he could have gotten there, and Lucifer now going to move out with 4 Ghouls and his Lich, as well as obviously a Rod of Necromancy. So important to get those just to tank some more damage here. Very interesting play here by Lucifer. We'll have to see how he wants to use this. Obviously, he will need to get a quick Death Knight pretty much no matter what. You can imagine he could go for something like Lich and then Dark Range or something really cute like that, but it's very unlikely that he's going to be able to heal up faster than things like Storm Bolts and Holy Lights will be able to damage that Lich, and so it's really very important to try and get that Death Knight out quickly in this situation. And we now see Lucifer doing some good creeping of his own. They get pretty close to level 2, and actually if he could steal any of these creeps, that would get him that level 2, which would be very nice. He picks up a Ring of Protection, not a great item, but a Belt of Giant Strength here for the Archmage, so neither player got great items here, and so we'll have to see if that's going to really change how they're going to play this out. Obviously, if you get something like a Tome of Experience, you can be really aggressive with the level 3 Archmage, but in this case that wasn't the case here for Hawk. And looks like Lucifer and Hawk are both sort of moving back and forth, trying to really force the other out of position. Obviously, if this Water Elemental could be, since it's so much slower than the other human units, could be slowed down a bit and could be surrounded by Ghouls and maybe even a Frost Nova. As you see, this Lich gonna now go again, try and get a bit more damage off. Obviously, very important to keep your mana high on this Lich for those really critical Novas, which can do so much in conjunction with Ghouls. Really gonna be interesting to see how Lucifer's gonna play this out, but this is back and forth stance. Obviously, Hawk knows this scenario that Lucifer's in, where he's really desperate to get that level 2, and so he doesn't want to let him get those creeps if at all possible. And Lucifer, meanwhile, he has Creature's Backpack. It's something you do see very often. It's something that didn't used to happen a lot, but pretty much every undead does that nowadays. So it's just so important to be able to bring items to the front line. We've seen so much Rod of Necromancy used recently, as we now see a big battle going off. A nice Frost Nova, going to be able to get one Footman kill there, and there's that level 2 there for that Lich, which was so important, because it's going to allow him to sacrifice his own units and regenerate his own mana, and obviously he can do that on skeletons as well, and that's just so useful. As we now see, he actually has used that once already, gaining almost enough mana for another Nova already, as the humans being forced to back off, still only level 2, and meanwhile we do have skeletons just poking into Hawk's base. Hawk obviously has put up an Arcane Tower because he's worried about those skeletons doing any harassment here, and actually we have this, it was an Acolyte, not a skeleton, so it's an interesting choice here by Lucifer. Maybe it's because he just wants to have the option to sacrifice in the future. Obviously, because he can't coil, if there's any pressure while he texted here too, it is nice to have an extra Acolyte to replace any lost Acolytes for gold mining. you know, there's a bunch of interesting scenarios that could play out here in this game. As you now see another very nice Frost Nova here from Lucifer, as he's now chasing down these human units yet again. The Archmage still not level 3. Obviously, those level 2 water elementals, fantastic against ghouls, so really worthwhile getting out. As you now see Lucifer yet again trying to do every little bit of damage to these footmen that he can, and meanwhile he doesn't care too much about the damage on his ghouls as long as he doesn't lose them, because he can always just micro them back home. As we now see another item being dropped here, this Cause of Attack, a much better item, and even another Frost Nova, going to kill off one footman. He won't get this round here on the second footman, but might manage to chase it down over time. We'll have to see how persistent he wants to be. You know, we do have these low ghouls being microed home, and even this Acolyte continuing to scout out, really looking for the militia to be being brought over for an expansion attempt. That's something that's so important to look for, but it looks like we do have actually a keep almost done, as well as a blacksmith. So interesting tech choices here from Lucifer, from Hawk, who's now going for Rifleman. So really, really weird. Obviously, Rifleman not too often used. Riflecaster was like the Reign of Chaos, just absolute fantastic combination, but really hasn't seen a lot of success in about 5 or 6 years. So it'll be interesting to see if that's what we're going to be seeing out of Hawk, or if he just thinks that this is going to be a good combination against these ghouls. So we now see some pretty ambitious creeping here from Lucifer. This is actually a really smart creep camp because he to take at the moment, just because he knows that he has the huge army advantage at the moment. There's no way Hawk can engage him well, and so he's just going to try and take out a creep camp that's very, very important here for Hawk, and we can see he's taken out a couple of the creeps, gotten his level 3, and now we'll have a very, very powerful Frost Nova, as well as being able to pick up these mercs, which are again very, very useful, especially the Shadow Priest, because it gives him that healing that he hasn't had at all this game so far. As we now see these ghouls tear apart the first Rifleman. The second one is undamaged, but it looks like he won't be damaged for a little bit, as Lucifer is focusing mainly on the footman in the front, and even a Dispel going off to try and kill off this water elemental very, very efficiently. And we now see a huge amount of damage potential coming out from Lucifer, really forcing Hawk to stay between the to stay in this little choke point, and where the creeps are still in his range now. As you now see, the Mountain King has now come out for Hawk, and he will be able to chase away Lucifer for a short period of time. Tier 2 almost done here for Lucifer now, and he actually is pulling his ghouls yet again, so we're going to be able to see him do some more damage perhaps. He's really going to try and put on the pressure here, and he's been very, very impressive so far, keeping very, very low damage on this Lich, and another nice Nova goes off there, gets another couple kills, as this Mountain King gets his first experience now, just off one ghoul kill, and even a slow going down this Archmage. Will the Archmage be killed as Nova goes off, and oh, at the last second, TP being forced. Tremendous play here by Lucifer, even using this Mud Golem to the best of its effect. And really, really interesting to see an undead use these mercs like this, because normally they're just so expensive that an undead doesn't want to spend any money on them. But in this case, Lucifer sort of delayed his attack a bit. He obviously doesn't even have any fiends out at the moment. He does have the graveyard though, so that might be his future tech. Obviously, ghouls are pretty effective, or in combination with fiends as well. So we'll have to see what his late game composition is going to be. As we now see, looks like maybe Hawk's to go for this creep camp. He isn't pulling militia by the looks of things, so maybe he'll just be creeping this out and then moving back. And meanwhile, one of the ogres is already bloodlusted from Lucifer's scouts there. So a bit of bad luck there for Hawk, who's take a bit more damage, but because he now has priests and can always be tanking on these water elementals, he's in a pretty decent spot, and those are level 2 water elementals now. And a very nice item, this Potion Invulnerability, going to be tremendously useful for the Mount King, as it will mean that we will see a resistance against the Coil Nova, which could end up being very, very high damage because of the high level Lich. And obviously once you do get that high level coil, the high level Nova, it means you're just in such a precarious position for being surrounded, especially because you can regenerate mana so much faster and just keep on casting those Novas, and it can cause a lot of problems here for Hawk if he's not careful. And Hawk now moving down, going to try and get a couple kills, might actually get this Mud Golem kill, and he does get it very early on in the battle, so very, very nice there for him. As we'll now see that he's going to maybe do some shopping. No, he's just going to move straight back out. It looks like there wasn't too much of after plan there, because there weren't any Sorks to do any slowing, and at this point actually that could be a big problem here for Lucifer if there were Sorks, because he obviously does have the Dispel from the Shadow Priest, but there isn't even the mana for it at the moment. And after that, he could put him in a very bad position where he'd just be losing ghoul after ghoul to water elementals, bolts, and archmages if he could get slowed. But at this point he can't, and Hawk's gonna take best advantage of this tiny amount of time where he'll be in this dominant position to do some pretty ambitious creeping here. Obviously a creep jack normally at this camp is pretty bad, but at this point in the game, he is actually looking okay to get away with this. And we do see a what's that, second belt of giant strength? Yes, it is second belt of giant strength being picked up here for Hawk, and that's going to give him a whole bunch of extra hit points. Meanwhile, Lucifer's gone straight on the offensive. This is a pretty bold move actually, because he's losing a lot of mana to this arcane tower off his Death Knight, who is now level 2, but just he is doing some damage, but Hawk's doing a good job of buying some time at least, as we now see Hawk is starting to lose a couple of these militia, and his riflemen in the back have done a good amount of damage, have bought a good amount of time as well, just running in circles. But it looks like Lucifer is probably going to be forced to TP home now, but he is level 4 now on this Lich, and that is really scary, because Death and Decay could come into this game, and that would be pretty interesting, because obviously what could be bolted, if you do it on something like an expansion, you can really catch them off guard and force them to TP in, and then force them to TP into bad positions, and it gets pretty interesting, as you now see finally Lucifer being forced out of this battle. And he does actually get a couple more kills before he's forced out, so really nice play here by Lucifer. He is such a good undead player, very much worth, as I say, watching his stream. It's just so entertaining. And Hawk now 3-2 on his heroes, and it'll be interesting to see actually if he wants to go for castle, because it might not be the best option in this scenario. He might be better going off for this big rifle caster combination that he has been doing so far, and trying to do one big push before this Death Knight can get up to level 3. But it'll be tricky to say the least, because statues are now out, and Black Citadel is done, so he will be having an orb on this Lich, and maybe even the Destroyer upgrade. Ooh, actually the Destroyer upgrade almost done now, so looks like maybe Hawk could be forced into a much more defensive macro position, could be forced to take an expansion, and really play for the very long game, when he can go for things like Griffins, which just the undead will have a bit more trouble countering so easily. And now actually look at this, the arcane tower is taken down during that previous attack, and Lucifer wastes no time in sending in skeletons. Only one Sorkier, which can really do very little against these skeletons, and then indeed Hawk going to lose a couple more peasants just to defend this by the looks of things. So very nice play here by Lucifer, really keeping Hawk on his toes. And actually look at Lich getting another bad item, this Boots of Quaffle Loss, not going to be very useful for him at all. Meanwhile, Hawk, he does have that +9 claws, yes it is, so pretty decent items here for him. It'll be interesting to see this Buster Giant Strike. He can put 12 strength on his Mount King, really beef it up, make it an absolute non-target, but because he has this potion of invulnerability, and actually the Talisman of Evasion as well, it does sort of make sense to keep it on the Archmage, just because that Archmage, you never know when it's going to be caught in a really bad position like this. And looks like the 2 Scrolls of Healing being purchased now for Hawk. They'll presumably transfer one of these over to the Mount King. Yes, he does, as he's now going to move in for an attack. Actually, this was the attack that I was saying that he could go for, but he does need to be so wary of Destroyers at this point, because between slows and water elementals, you can really provide them with a whole bunch of mana. And when you see now Lucifer is unfazed by this and continuing to creep, does have +20 now on his Lich, so that's going to be very scary. And even the Crypt Lord being brought out as well, so very interesting. We could be seeing that impale, really causing some big problems for Rifle Caster, because obviously they all tend to line up really well, so you can get a good TP, and that'd be very nice. But he does need to TP in quickly. Black Citadel's down to half health. Will it be an offensive TP? It's fairly offensive here, and we now need to see good impales go off for Lucifer, because the Death Knight is only level 3, so a good bolt as well as the good focus from the 1-0 upgraded Rifleman could cause a lot of trouble. One Rifleman goes down immediately. There's the impale, pretty good. No Destroyers as of yet, but the Black Citadel is still getting off shots. One Scroll of Healing does go off, and looks like some of these ghouls are running around in circles, so a bit of mayhem here for Lucifer, who's now in danger of losing some of his fiends. He does lose one, and looks like another ghoul will go down as well, so Hawk in a very good position. It's almost a shame he didn't bring towers here, because that could have been very effective, but he couldn't have really known that. As you now see, one call goes off to save this Crypt Lord, but the Crypt Lord now being forced right to the back of the base, actually an Abomination being built as well. Interesting choice against that slow, certainly, because that could be very damaging. As you now see, a Nova goes off on the Archmage, but a statue is lost for Lucifer, so big loss there. This Lich has hit level 5, so this Nova is very scary, but the Coil's still only level 2, so really doesn't have the huge Coil Nova Impale nuke that the Undeads are sort of famous for. As you now see, actually a lot of damage has already gone off onto this Abomination, but it looks like the Abomination will survive for a bit at least, but has been slowed, so really Coils need to keep on going off as another Coil goes off to counter off a Bolt. And Lucifer now really in so much trouble here. It looks like he's slightly overbuilt these Acolytes, but he can always just sacrifice them for mana. As you see, this Lich now down to about 300 health, so does need to be very careful here. Another coil goes off, and this Death Knight does still have a potion of greater mana, bear in mind, so he will be able to continue these coils as these Novas keep on going off. And it's actually been fairly effective for for Lucifer. He's been staying in the back of his base, and he's done pretty well out of it. He's gotten a lot of kills that he hasn't lost too much in exchange for, and we could even see one more Nova go off, maybe with this boots of speed on the Lich, and it looks like actually Hawk turning around, another Nova goes off, kills one more Rifleman, and another is being brought down to very low health. We could see one more call if Death Knight gets the mana to pick that one off before the healing overwhelms it. It looks like at least one water elemental should go down here. Looks like actually a Rifleman being focused instead, and that one does go down as the Crypt Lord now hits level 2. We'll probably be seeing the armor off of him because those beetles just won't be effective at all against these priests. Priests don't have Dispel, but if you see beetles coming out, you can just get Dispel pretty quickly. As we now see second attack upgrade coming out here for Hawk, and he's just going to be continuing with the same tech by the looks of things. You know, Lucifer with a very ragtag army, couple Fiend, one Abomination, couple Statues, still no Destroyers, which is pretty surprising. Obviously the Riflemen do okay against them, but if you get good positioning, and you can really just use them for Dispel mostly, as well as when you're trying to nuke something down. Obviously it's Mount King, tough to nuke down, but the Archmage could still be nukeable, even only 700 hit points at his max. So still possible to take him down, especially if you get a good Impale, either on the Archmage or even on the Mount King if you want to prevent a bolt from stopping you from coiling, something like that. So many possibilities here for Lucifer, but he does need to be so careful because he is at the moment outgunned by these 2-0 Riflemen, and indeed looks like these Riflemen just going to be taking Frost Novas whenever Lucifer can, and it actually gets a coil off there, so he's just slowly picking off his army, and Lucifer needs to be so careful though, because look at this, his Lich getting down to 200 hit points. Coil goes off at the last second to save him, but it needs to be so careful because there is Thunderclap as well from his Mount King, so if he does need to rapidly do damage, he can always expend that just to do that slight bit of extra damage on top of his bolt. And obviously because the Archmage is level 4, he has that good mana regeneration. So another bolt goes off on the Death Knight this time. Interesting choice because there's pretty much no chance he's going to be getting that so far as I can see, just because it's so tricky to kill a Death Knight in this sort of position where the entire army's around it and he's level 3. And it looks like Hawk yet again eats a Frost Nova. Doesn't really seem too phased by them, but it looks like he's slowly being whittled down to only 7 Riflemen at the moment. And looks like he will probably be wanting to pick up a couple more, as you see the first Destroyer has now come out, and those are really a big threat to the human army if you don't have a couple Riflemen to back to scare them away. And looks like yet more Dispel is going off this Destroyer, now up to 70 mana, so can do a fair bit of damage, especially to the Water Elementals, because they do have this heavy armor. And this battle just so back and forth, really both sides just dancing around each other, trying to find the favorable position, trying to force the other out of position. And we now see Lucifer yet again sort of just trying to stay on the outskirts of his base, close to the reinforcement lines, and just try and get some damage done to the main bulk of the army. He knows that going for the heroes at the moment isn't a good idea. You really want to do that in the chaos of a big fight, when one unit can be caught out of position and can have trouble getting to the back of an army or something like that. Really that's the best time to do it. And we now see more focus going down, one more priest being taken down before it can heal itself up. Just so nice DPS out here from Lucifer, who just keeps on regenerating his mana as well, and even can constantly be going back to his Blight, where he gets that insane hit point regeneration. So I think maybe this is a mistake by Hawk, letting him do this. Maybe he would be better off trying to take an expansion, but the Rifle Caster composition just becomes obsolete so quickly that he does have a need to sort of keep the pressure up. It's a tricky position that Hawk's put himself in, but considering that he's up against a Lich first, it's sort of untreaded ground here, and another Nova goes off, taking out Stork, and we now even see that this one Fiend that should have gone down, giving a bunch of experience here for Hawk, was sacrificed by Lucifer, and he even got some mana out of it. He's still at 430 mana, despite all this constant pressure. Really nice here to have those statues, as well as that level 5 Lich so early in this game. As you see, yet another Nova goes off, and looks like will Hawk go for another bolt here? It's sort of a folly at this point. I think he's starting to realize, and he's just starting to realize that he needs another plan. He needs something else to do, because even though Lucifer doesn't have a huge army, it's just so durable and just so capable of getting these hit and runs. When with only the bolt to try and scare him away, there's not a huge disincentive for Lucifer to keep doing what he's doing here. Gets another 2 Riflemen with 1 Nova there. Very nice. And looks like you even will get 1 more there. So look at his hero levels now. Must be getting pretty good. 5, 4, 2. And that Death Knight's actually, no, he's just level 4. But once he gets that 5/5, that can be so scary with an Impale as well, because you can just do so much damage to single targets. And we can see already that he's able to take out these pretty high hit point Riflemen with ease, but if he gets to the point where he can start taking out archmages with ease, then that's really when a Hawk's going to have to reconsider his whole strategy, maybe take an expansion, and in fact it looks like maybe that's he actually might be going for the creep jack here, but that would be a pretty interesting decision if he is, because these creeps are so good for creeping when you have a destroyer, because look at that, he instantly got 150 hit mana straight off that one dispel that he used there, and it looks like you might even be able to get a couple decent items here before the battle starts, as Lucifer, as it looks like he can scare off Hawk, who's actually going for a much weaker creep camp here, and looks like Lucifer's actually in a weirdly good position at this point. Ooh, Ruined Bracer, so fantastic item there for Hawk. Really going to help him out in this battle. It's going to make it focusing down the Mountain King even less of a good decision. As we now see, Lucifer has actually been slowed quite a bit. Doesn't have enough destroyers to get rid of all of them, and a lot of focus now going down onto this Death Knight, who's forced to TP away. And as I say, really only going for the hero kills during these big battles is the only time you can get away with them. Really, because otherwise it's just too easy to micro them back and micro your other units forward, because there isn't just the chaos of the battle going on. And Lucifer looks like he's going to be quickly regrouping. He has it level 3 on this Crypt Lord and will be going straight back into the battle. Does have a potion of invulnerability on his Crypt Lord, but not on his Death Knight. He instead has the TP on his Death Knight, which is a pretty interesting decision. I mean, obviously it's maybe he just decides that he doesn't want to have both on his Death Knight, but certainly that might be the safer option at least, because the Crypt Lord is a good tank at least, but he already has 4 abominations. He isn't really in need of a tank. He's more in need of the Crypt Lord's spells, and then if he dies, you know, it's sad, but it's not the end of the world for him. So it's interesting that he's decided to protect the Crypt Lord like that. And meanwhile, Hawk, he is going to TP back. He's so close to level 5 here. Obviously, those water elementals eventually get to such high hit points that you can't even dispel them with a couple of destroyers anymore. But look at this TP in, so nice for Lucifer, as he gets a great position, great Frost Nova as well. And actually, this Death Knight now being focused down to very low health and will be forced to TP away at 20 hit points, so close there. But that's really where that potion of invulnerability could have come into use, as you now see Lucifer yet again being forced to TP out of battle, but yet again probably having done more damage than he took. So pretty even, maybe even a bit better for Lucifer there, despite being forced to TP out. We'll have to see how much healing he's going to get off on his Death Knight before he re-engages here. He's staying right on the Blight there, as well as obviously getting the aura as well and the statue healing. So his health rockets up here, and we'll have to see if he wants to. Actually, he's creeped out all the local camps, so he might have to go for somewhere like here to really get some good creeping in. Otherwise, he'll have to just re-engage immediately, and he's so close to level 5 now on his Death Knight, I think, that it's probably not worth doing any more creeping. Might be worth just trying to re-engage quickly before that Mountain King can get his level 5, which is really scary, especially in conjunction with the items he's got. It's such good durability based on his items. It's going to be very tough to focus down that Mountain King, and he will be forced to just keep on going for the army and eventually whittle down that to the point where Hawk has to leave. Otherwise, I just don't think that he can focus him down. You know, this Archmage is level 5 finally, so we'll be able to do some damage with its water elementals at long last. As you now see, ghouls are scouting out all these expansions, and another battle going off, but actually Hawk in a pretty bad position, loses 1 rifleman right off the bat, and Lucifer does have all his abominations, 6 abominations right in the front, but actually the creep's going at him from the side as well, so a bit bad here for Lucifer, but it looks like he is getting a decent battle nonetheless. Healing Scroll going off here for Hawk, but immediately the Impale goes off right after that, and Lucifer actually taking a lot of damage from these creeps, but it looks like we do now finally have the AoE from the abomination is going to be a huge threat here to Hawk, as Hawk's now really being forced back, and these creeps actually doing a lot of damage. Really unfortunate, but oh, look at these militia being brought in, but are absolutely going to be killed by the abomination's AoE, as well as the Novas and the Impales and everything. And really stellar play here from Lucifer, who's almost level 5 now on his Death Knight. He has transferred over the invulnerability potion to that Death Knight. Actually, one of these abominations is getting pretty low, but you can see Lucifer micros every unit to its max. Nova goes off on the Archmage and does then go down, and Hawk now looks like he will be forced to GG out of this game and cede the series to Lucifer, who wins this Zotac Cup with a fantastic play here all round, really, but really interesting play here, going for this Lich, even gets at level 6 at the very end. Shame we didn't get to say Death and Decay, because it's one of those spells that you pretty much never see, but really cool play here by Lucifer, getting that getting that Lich out so early, and really managing to do a fair bit of damage, even taking an expansion behind it. Very nice play here by both sides, but in the end Lucifer just absolutely overwhelmed him. So actually, yeah, I love that game actually with all these abominations. Really interesting play against those riflemen. But I hope you enjoyed that game, folks, and I'll try and bring you some more games eventually. I would say the near future, but I think at this point we both know that that would be a bit of an exaggeration. So thanks for watching as ever, folks. Bye.